So why don't you start with an introduction and get us rolling, and then I'll jump in from there.
Sure. So I'm Coach Francois. I'm head coach at Mitwest Futsal Club out of Farmington Hills, Michigan. This year we're going to be sponsored by Redline Athletics, and we run the Redline Football Academy in the Redline Sports Performance Center, so the largest youth sports performance contractor in the country.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about the history for Mitwest and how you guys got to this point and how you ended up in FCS.
So I moved back to this area. I went to law school here maybe 20 years ago, and moved back after I'd been doing a lot of futsal in New York with New York Futsal, and had been looking for some futsal to play. I had no idea that it was so big here. And then I landed at, I used to coach at Waza, but then when I got back, Waza had been the national champions for futsal with the tournament. They won the national tournament at one point. And I got there the year of. And so I coached at Waza Futsal Club, very high level, right? Coming off a national championship. And everyone wanted to play us, right? It was very easy to organize games. And when it did a year or stint in MLF, Major League Futsal, and wasn't so happy about that experience, just in terms of it was a little all over the place, right? And then we did a couple of years in NFPL, Natural Futsal Premier League, NFPL, yeah, and that was a great experience. Played against some really great teams, and that's how we came to Lansing to play. And then when Lansing spun off into the FCS, we were right there with them, and just like the experience overall. We're a developmental club, so we like to see our players get developed and then move on. And a lot of them are players. I would say we have the most players in the league who came through our program, right? Because a lot of them play for other teams. So we're very proud of that, and very proud of what we've done, our record in terms of that, right? Developing players. So
that's awesome.
That's where we are.
Can you help get the fans that are maybe getting new to FCS, since we're getting online for the first time in a video state? What are some of those players that led to, because you guys have had some successes in FCS as well, making it to the finals?
Yeah.
Are there some of those standout players that they should be looking out for that have history with you?
From Mitwest, oh my God, Josh Pierce, goalkeeper from Lansing. Maybe some teams out on the west side of the state this year comes to mind. Top player. Justin Cassell at Midwest United, right? Who else? Costa Wells and Davide DePoche, Denny at Detroit Imperial, right? I would say certainly Detroit Imperial's coach is a Midwest alum. So it's been a lot, right? And it's gonna keep going, right? So I don't think any of them have anything negative to say or bad to say about our process, our developmental process, and we're going to keep doing what we do.
That's awesome. With that in mind, and kind of knowing that there's familiar faces across the league, what do you see as far as competition that you're looking forward to this season? Are there people that you're circling on the calendar that you're getting excited for? Games that you're excited for?
We're excited for every futsal game, right? At the end of the day, it really is for us getting young players into the league, right? So it's just across the board, every game we've had a blast. I just can't even, we live for futsal Saturdays in Lansing a lot of times, but yeah. So we always have a lot of fun when we come to Lansing, right? Because the game's always tight, the arena, we feel, for years we played here, so we're very comfortable. It's almost like a home game for us, right? There's no strangers, no strange faces, so we always like coming to Lansing, to be honest. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
With you mentioned some of the influence and transition with having a team in your own backyard with Detroit Imperial.
Sure.
Is there any kind of sense of rivalry there that you guys feel that becomes an intense game, or is there any expectations against them this season?
They're on a whole other level than us, right? So it's sort of a different animal, right? But we share a lot of the same players, a lot of the same coaches, the same playing style, right? Because there's so much relationship. So it's it's not really a rivalry, I would say, right? It's just I don't know how you put it. It's like your maybe a sibling rivalry. Maybe a sibling rivalry. There you go.
Just some bragging rights for the weekend, right?
Right.
Just
Right. It's like playing older brother, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
What? Tell me a little bit about what some of the influence has been on your guys' club. Where have you found some of the passion and influence? Where does that come from the rest of the futsal world?
So we own a soccer data company. That's our sort of day job, right? I mean, futsal data company. We use futsal to develop soccer players. And in that, we're really, really eclectic, right? I say the biggest influence is Japan, right? A flexible futsal royal system, 2-1-1, Barca, to some Boca elements from Boca Juniors. And the transition in between them, right? So we talked about today in these presentations, like there's no longer a fixed style. It's how you transition from style to style to style and why, right? And so we use data and computers and machine learning to model the other team and then how we're going to react. Because generally speaking, we're the underdog, right? So we look at the underdogs in the world, the Uzbekistans, the Moroccos, the Japans, and we model our game. We put the information from those games into an AI, and we model our game based on how they play. So we got a little system going, right? And it's interesting because, you know, you don't always want to play as the dominant team in futsal, right? You just don't. And no matter what you're doing, at some point you're going to come up against someone who's bigger, physically, more technical, right? And now you got to be smarter. So that's how we approach every game. We're trying to teach our kids to be smart, universal, leverage the counterattack, leverage defense, right? And attack in a way that prevents counterattacks.
Are there any specific players out in the world right now, or even with the World Cup happening right now, that you're finding any passion or influence from as well, or is it specifically like the clubs that you mentioned?
Japan, the entire approach to Japan is we see a very simpatico. We see a very, very close philosophy to how we approach games, game management, setup, mentality. So, you know, and simplicity. Right? They kind of leverage it down for their players and, you know, make it as efficient as possible. So definitely we've had games where we've been trying to do, you know, a Japan against an Iran or a Japan against a Brazil and been really, really successful with it. You know, pulled off some real upsets based on that philosophy. So Japan, generally, not players in particular, but because they're very, very cohesive as a team.
With the World Cup going on right now, and speaking of those international countries and you know the current landscape here in the United States, what's kind of your feelings of where futsal stands today, especially in the wake of not qualifying for that World Cup, and where do you see it going in the future as kind of a next step forward?
Where it is today, you know, it's a big discussion, right? It's a lot of politics, just in my opinion, right? And we don't have a culture yet of professionalism, you know, and I hope, and I certainly think the FCS is on the cutting edge of that, right? But just in terms of like what we saw today in terms of representation from the former national team coaches, you know, that's how Mitwest prepares for a game, right? That's the standard. We've done that from day one, 2015 on. So at the end of the day, there has to be a standard, there has to be accountability, and the opportunities to play will come if that's the case, right? And certainly we're on the right track here, right? I have not seen that necessarily from other federations and other organizations because, again, it's very political. It's just, and it's holding us back. And that's all I'll say about it. I don't want to say anything controversial.
No, it's good. No, it's good. What do you think is expectations for the team this season based on everything that is going on around you?
Man. We hope to win a game or two, right? But also, you know, if we can get 3 or 4 guys through the system and on to other clubs, that's a win for us as well. So I think we had last year 4 players move on to other clubs, right? I don't think anyone's done that. And re-upped, right? So that's a win for us, right? And when those players play in World Cups, so they play in national tournaments, right? They're not like slouches, right? They fit in. So that's our goal. That's a different philosophy than a lot of American football, right? That's a win for us if we have 4 or 5 players come through and then even go on.
So it sounds like kind of the big part of the philosophy is just bringing people into the sport itself, not necessarily
so
to.
Our average age of our team is under 20, right? And that's where we want to be. That's our sweet spot, right? So bring people into the sport, teach them our philosophy, move them on so they share what we do with other clubs and spread the knowledge, and hopefully our methodology compares favorably to where they're moving on to, and that's how the reputation of the club grows.
Perfect. That sounds great. Well, it's going to be an exciting season. I'm looking forward to seeing some friendly faces out there for you guys and seeing you compete in places like here in the arena where we are today, and how you guys.
Games anywhere. So if you know what, we'll take games anywhere. We'll go where the ball is. So
That's awesome. What do you think about that this year as a potential challenge with the travel now that's going to come outside of coming to here to Lansing? Do you think that is going to have any impact on your strategy for the season?
I think it's great. So we kind of broke it up into 2 seasons, right? So we're looking at it like a cycle, like a 30-day cycle. That's part of our approach. It kind of matches what we do with a major competition, right? So we look at this like a Primera, Segundo, like they do in Argentina. So 2 cycles. In between, we have a tournament. We have 2 tournaments in between, which is why it's broken up that way. And so, we may have a completely different team come March, right? Once we get through the tournaments and stuff like that. So
it's going to have some influence along the way, and obviously some,
so we have
adapt or die mentality.
We have other competitions, right, in between. So constantly bringing guys in, assessing guys, and see who can hang, right? That's all it's all about.
That's awesome. Well, Francois, best of luck this season. Looking forward to seeing you guys out on the court, and I think that you guys are going to become a fan favorite before long.
Thanks, Jake.
Awesome. Thank you.